everyone, welcome back to the Tabletop Tavern. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jenny. I am the dungeon master here at TTT. I will allow my wonderful players to introduce themselves, beginning with the fantastic, the beautiful, the effervescent, the really ginger, Victoria Shaz.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria, and I play Lione the Bell.
Hey, I'm Ryan, and I play Galen, Wayfarer.
Hi, I'm Doe Deer, and I play Gris Littlefoot.
I play Ariadne and Kaita.
Can you repeat that, Pippin? Sorry.
And I'm Pippin. I play Ariadne and Kaita.
Awesome.
And I'm Stacy, and I'm gonna be playing Bee Bothkin.
And I'm Allie, and I will be playing Maxilla Osteoclast.
All right, so for those of you who were not here last episode, sorry, we're having a little bit of mic issues, so I'm just trying to fix that. For those of you who weren't here last episode, a brief summary. After arriving in the town of Viri Valley to celebrate the Harvest Festival, our heroes, such as they are, found themselves in the middle of quite an orc debacle when the hayride from the Harvest Festival went missing. After rescuing Maxilla Osteoclast's family, more or less, from the confused grip of some young orcs, they all returned home to the Osteoclast farm to celebrate the rest of the Harvest Festival. The day following the orc debacle passes quickly. The townspeople, save those from the hayride, gather once more for the second day of the Harvest Festival. Merchants hawk their wares from the hand-painted stalls, calling out to passers-by creative, if not fanciful, descriptors of the quality of their mead and baked goods. Some of these merchants try to stop and get some of the townspeople to try samples of their handiwork. Lione LaBelle is one of these people who is tempted by such wares, though she seems a little distracted, promising many vendors that she will return the next day to finalize any purchases she's considering. Along the fringes of the cornfields, Ariadne spends much of the day working alongside Chet, helping them to rebuild the wagon lost in the night before, smiling at Travis, who brings them felled lumber from the nearby woods quietly, his face set in a frown. Maxilla's mother, Cordeia, supervises the activity from her seat on the porch, her attempt to blend in away from the crowd, offset by the elephant in the room, so to speak. I'm sorry. Galen and Bee wander the festival, occasionally slipping back to the house for an hour or so before reappearing, typically just as Lione reaches into her purse to purchase something. Gris, meanwhile, watches from a distance as Maxilla helps Stapes prepare for the next day's livestock competition. Malleus and Incus also hover nearby, their eyes trained on their sisters, though Incus occasionally disappears, presumably to increase the stockpile of rotting squash she seems to think the halfling doesn't know about, though she absolutely does. The sun sets, and after a meal of both common and unique dishes Lione purchases under Gris's advisement, the party and their hosts head to bed, the previous day's drama all but forgotten, still lying unspoken between them all. The next day, the sunrise throws beams of light through the windows of the rooms in the house. The party's hosts rise early, a consequence, you all think, of the lifestyle they lead. And though a thorough attempt at silence is clearly made, you can hear someone who seems to be Malleus loudly shushing, probably Incus, through the floorboards, and Cordeia's voice making an attempt at keeping the peace between the children. You're still awakened bright and early by this very rambunctious family. If I remember correctly, Bee and Galen are in one room, and Lione, Gris, and Ari are sharing the other room.
Okay, so upon upon hearing them through the floorboards, Lione just kind of sits up and looks to Gris and Ari. Doesn't even really wait to see if they're awake, and is just like, things are so much quieter at the LaBelle mansion. It's lovely here, but my goodness, it's loud. And then she kind of lays back down with her head on the pillow.
Gris
Ari, yeah, go ahead.
Gris kind of sits up at this exclamation and just kind of looks around the room and begins kind of untangling her braid and just is like, it's a little quieter here than back home.
Ari, in their like cross-legged position in trance, just like cartoonishly opens one eye to look at Lione, just not sleeping, obviously, and go like, "Yes, I imagine so, but you wouldn't believe what the initiates get up to."
Gris kind of like raises an eyebrow and turns to Ariadne and says, "I'm ready to hear more. Please tell me what they're up to." And she's at this point still like kind of combing her hair with her fingers and working on her morning braid.
Well, at that they like open both their eyes and just chuckle and like start to stretch out. And they just go, "Well, I mean, nothing as rambunctious as these folks, but they have to learn balance somehow, and most don't have it when they start."
That's a fair point.
Lione kind of chuckles at this and stands up and kind of just starts to get ready for the day. Kind of doing the same as Gris, brushing her hair. And she looks to Gris and Ari and says, "So the other night was kind of weird, huh?"
With Maxilla and Chet and Stapes and the whole orc debacle, you mean?
Yes, that is exactly what I mean.
Gris just
Oh,
kind
and
of
here I thought you meant the pig wrestling.
That too. Lione looks at Ari and is like, "That as well."
But I do take your meaning.
In comparison, the pig wrestling was a little more normal than everything we've learned.
Normal is subjective, Gris.
Normal in my neck of the woods, Lione.
But I take your point. The thing is, until they kind of tell us more, I certainly don't have an answer for them.
I know.
Are you talking specifically about the gods, Ariadne? Or
Well,
just
it
the
does
whole-
seem to be the topic of the week, doesn't
Well, I
it?
think there's the gods, and then she's like, and then there's Travis and Maxilla, and then there's these orcs versus those orcs. There's a lot of subcategories to break down here.
Oh, well, I just took that to
I
be...
think the gods is probably our biggest problem.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
see, yeah, that's fair. I just took that other stuff to be... People are hard.
Lione looks at Ari and says, "That's exactly what it is.
They are hard, but I sure wish
It's
I
difficult."
could help out Travis and Maxilla in some way. Love to see the two of those expressing their emotions for each other. And she just kind of slyly smiles as she kind of puts on her tunic and swings her legs over the bed.
Lione puts her hand on Gris's shoulder and looks down at Gris and says, "Not all of us are open communicators."
I just... I'm aware of that. We've talked through this before, but...
Ari just chuckles in that. Well, at least those 3 months didn't go all for naught.
Meanwhile,
That's fair.
across
Should
the
we go
hall-
and eat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
I was gonna
go for it.
say,
I was
Leon's gonna
say-
head down and eat.
Yeah, Gris will follow suit and is probably eager to help Stapes and Maxilla this morning.
B, across the hall, you wake up to the smell of baking bread, which basically sends you just sitting straight up in bed.
Galen, good morning.
Galen sort of like rubs his eyes and like stretches out his arms and looks up and sees B already like sitting up and goes, "Yeah, it smells like bread. I figured you'd be up. Good morning." And rubs his eyes more.
The early bird catches the worm. I gotta get that piece of that bread. Smells a little bit like Travis's bread, if you know what I mean.
He does like his baking. And Galen sort of says this while he's like getting up and sits on the side of the bed and continues his morning stretches. He's like, do you want to run down and get some bread?
I want to get it while it's still fresh, but I can wait. I can
No,
wait.
go ahead.
And B
I'll-
B says that as she's watching him stretch.
Stop.
I'm very uncomfortable with the energy we've made in this room.
Galen sort of just smirks and laughs and goes, "It's a little early for that." And he gets up and walks over to the windowsill, looks out the window, and sort of just like looks back over his shoulder and goes, "I'll meet you downstairs in a couple seconds. Go for it."
B kind of just takes that noddingly and slips on the closest pair of pants she finds and opens the door.
B. Do you have a D4?
Yes. I do.
Roll a D4.
Hey. I got a 3.
They are not your pants, they're Galen's pants.
Oh no.
I was
You
like,
can still
DM
put them
doesn't
on.
tell you why you're rolling.
Oh no.
They're just like a little loose. I just thought you should know.
Is it sexy loose like 2000s 90s? With like the straps on the hips.
What's your charisma modifier?
Would it be this one?
Yeah.
+4.
Yeah, they're sexy.
Nice. Okay.
This
She's
does
okay.
mean Galen slept with these pants.
Correct.
I'd like to imagine he brought more than one pair of pants, but we can roll another D4 if we want to.
Oh god. Okay. So Galen sort of just turns around and watches B leave out the door, just smiling to himself. Just like, I'm not gonna tell her. It's gonna be funny. It's fine. And sort of just stares out the window just a little bit longer and then goes to put on pants, I guess.
Galen, you get to put on your own pants.
Hell yeah.
I've made an arbitrary decision. All right, so you've all headed downstairs, it sounds like. So Lione, you arrive first, shortly followed by Gris and Ari. B arrives just a few seconds after, wearing a pair of pants that are too long for her, which is a little weird. But whatever. And
Lione definitely does like a and then oh my god. And then just goes back to doing what she's doing.
Awesome. Okay, so
Ari has a fleeting thought of concern of like, does B not have enough money for properly fitting pants?
Okay, so you go downstairs. You see Maxilla is seated at the dining table. Stapes, Incus, and Malleus appear to have already left, presumably to go towards the barn where they've all been hanging out for the last day. Maxilla is sitting at the dining table. In front of her is a freshly baked loaf of bread that she kindly has not yet torn into, presumably waiting for her friends. There are also several mugs of tea already placed on the table. Travis appears to be busy in the kitchen and doesn't greet you when you come in.
Hey y'all, you're finally up.
Good morning. And Lione kind of sits down and like waits patiently for some bread.
Gris kind of scurries over to the table and like quickly grabs a cup of tea and starts kind of throwing it back. Just happy to have like a comforting drink, and she's like with a big exhale. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no! We will be right back after these messages.
We will be right back, friends.
The messages are, please follow on YouTube. Please follow.
All right, so it looks like so Maxilla is preoccupied by the bread. And
Gris was just taking a big old gulp of tea before our audio issues, and just super happy to have a comforting drink before kind of like taking a deep breath and saying, it's been a long couple of days. I think I needed that more than I thought I did. And then she gives Maxilla a good morning. Sorry, no, you're good.
B immediately, even though she woke up very abruptly for that bread, immediately pretends she's tired and starts like rubbing her eyes, and she goes, oh, good morning, everybody. And then she looks over to the bed.
Performance?
Oh yeah, no,
Everyone
it's
can
not
see.
subtle. Everyone can see through this.
Okay.
And she immediately sees the bread and goes, oh, for me?
Well, that's for everyone. Me and Travis decided to crack open that book that Leon got him, and we wanted to try one of the recipes. So, hope y'all enjoy.
Oh,
I think it's almost done
I'm
cooling.
so glad.
So Travis
I'm very
made
excited
this.
to try it.
In his own hands. I just had to help him find the ingredients. I'm not good in the kitchen at all.
Travis reappears and takes the mug from you, Gris. Goes back into the kitchen, fills it with more hot water, and then brings it back to you and sets it down.
Thanks, Travis. I was incredibly thirsty this morning. I'm excited to try your bread. And she kind of like looks over patiently, waiting for her serving.
Okay, so the bread is sitting in front of Maxilla. Presumably anyone could grab it if they wanted to. However, as you all sort of examine the bread, Cordeia enters through the back door in the kitchen and arrives holding a sort of paper ball wrapped around something and says, "Now you can't rightly expect to eat bread without butter, can you?"
Gris raises an eyebrow and kind of turns to her and says, "From your cows, I presume?"
Well, they ain't from the pigs, that's for sure.
Gris just kind of like cackles and is like, "Well, yeah, of course." And she's like, "But did you make it yourself, or is it from one of the vendors from the festival?"
Oh, I ain't never made no butter. That's Stapes' job.
Gris smiles and she's like, "She's so talented." Just like off, kind of aside.
She must have incredible upper arm strength. Proud of her.
Cordeia flexes a little bit and she's like, "What can I say? They get it from me."
Most certainly. And then Arya's just like, probably lingers just a little bit too long on Cordeia flexing before turning back to the bread.
Gris kind of like has a moment and she turns to Cordeia and she's like, Stapes is quite talented in kind of herbal remedies and obviously on the farm. Do you know if she has much interest in like healing or learning some salves and things of that sort? She seems to have a natural ability.
Cordeia sort of looks thoughtful for a moment and then goes, "Well, I don't know. I suppose you could ask her. She does certainly like helping people, but she also likes animals a lot more than people. I will say, she is the sweetest orc child I ever met." And she looks like very proud, and then she looks at Maxilla and she's like, "You're awful sweet too, honey bunch."
Maxilla kind of has the thing where it's like how like the pretend worry, you know what I mean? And then like it's like, "Oh, I know, mama." Like
At seeing that though, Maxilla just Ari looks at Maxilla and just chuckles and goes like, "Well, we did hear that there are some rather interesting stories to be heard from your father."
Eddie.
But Maxilla doesn't have a father. Heads up. Maxilla has a parent and a mother.
Yeah.
Correct. Parent.
Yeah. Bob will get into all sorts of stories if you get him talking. But I was truly an angel. Don't let that fool you.
An angel, huh?
With horns, as we're told.
Although I do think you made your ball rather proud the other day.
This is true.
And to be honest, I may have given you a little something something, but it wasn't something you didn't already have, Maxilla.
Oh, well, that just tickles my heart. Thank you, Gris.
Gris sips her tea like, I'm also a mom.
Travis, who is standing next to Cordeia, sort of crosses his arms and looks at the group and says the first thing he said all morning. He looks at B and he goes, "Where's your thief?"
I'm right here, Travis.
Galen appears.
Can I help you with something, sir?
Travis looks at you for a moment, ignores you, and goes back into the kitchen.
Okay, cool. And Galen sort of just walks over to the table.
Lione
So
looks
now
at
you're
Maxilla
stealthy.
and kind of points at Travis and says, "Is he like extra prickly this morning?"
The chance to talk to Travis since everything went down. I mean, we've had some. I keep trying to talk, but I think we're just not in the right time right now. Ever since everything going down with that wagon, I think Travis is just trying to think through a lot right now.
B kind of responds and kind of goes, "Since he told you he loves you."
I think it was more than that. Like Maxilla's blushing.
Lione kind of looks at Maxilla and says, "How do you feel about what happened the other night?"
As far as first interactions with orcs that ain't my family go, it could have been a lot worse.
Fair.
Oops, that's Travis. Travis was great. This was probably ranked second in meeting orcs outside.
Leon kind of
family.
puts her hand up and is like, "I get it. It's good. It's fine."
But I don't know. It was a little. I guess I never really thought about trying to meet up with like orcs in a hostile context in any way, and I'm thankful that it didn't end up being hostile. But that just could have been a whole lot worse, and I think that's how I feel about how that all went down. I'm just happy it didn't. But I don't know. I hadn't really thought about what it would be like to meet people outside my family.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I mean,
And you're right, it
definitely
could have gone much worse.
Gris kind of nods enthusiastically and kind of looks to Maxilla, and she's like, I never really thought of the implications of leaving your clan behind until the other day, and got a little bit of that from Travis and some of it from you as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting to hear how different of a lifestyle it seems that those young orcs are living and trying to make you their war wife and all the stuff with the bees and it just seems like a lot. So you guys have been through a lot.
Yeah, and I think a reason I hadn't thought about seeing other orcs outside my family or other half orcs I'd seen along the way is just because you're really like they stay in the mountains and they don't want to once you're out there they don't want to see your face ever again, and they make that pretty damn clear. So I
Makes
don't know.
me worry about Nyx, who came to our village recently in Dreamers Grove. I kind of just assumed she's just very independent, but I imagine she's got more of a story than I probably know.
I'd love to talk to her. If you could tell me how to get send a letter her way, I'd love to do that.
I was kind of thinking about maybe sending her to pick up those pigs. I am a little attached to them, and I thought she could maybe continue teaching Stapes some healing and some herbal remedies as well. So maybe I'll send her a letter and see if she can come this way. If you'll have her, of course.
Of course, send her our way. We're always happy to have guests in the Osteo class household.
Yeah, I'd love for her to meet some fellow half-orcs and orcs who are living a different way of life, for sure.
Lord knows we wouldn't notice another little orcling around here. And at this point, Incus and Malleus have sort of shoved their way into the kitchen around Cordeia, who seems mildly annoyed by her children. She's like, settle down. I'm gonna go outside, Maxilla. Keep them out of trouble just for a little bit, please. It's been 2 hours. Sun just rose, and I've been awake with them for 2 hours.
I'll try. Gris kind of shoots Cordeia like an understanding and like also like, I got you, my friend. I'm here for you. kind of look.
Yeah, I just pipe up just like, I expect your days are longer than we know.
Lione like nods emphatically, like, yep. Couldn't even imagine it, honestly.
So Cordeia exits the kitchen, and Malleus takes in the entire scene at the table. She looks first at B and goes, "You know your pants don't fit."
Galen just bursts out laughing.
And then she looks to Lione and goes, "Lady LaBelle, her pants don't fit."
Lione kind of leans over to Malleus and is like, "Yeah, we all know we were kind of keeping it a secret from her."
"Why didn't you want your friend to know that her pants don't fit?"
"I think she's wearing them as a style thing, Malleus." And Lione kind of like side eyes B.
Malleus
like B. Oh.
Malleus crosses her arms and she goes, "I think that's stupid."
I like well-fitting clothes better as well, Malleus.
Galen
B
just looks at
kinda
Malleus. Oh, go ahead.
No, B just kind of like looks at her pants and looks up at the group and kind of goes, "I don't think they look half bad. I think I'm gonna call them boyfriend cut, if you will."
Did B just invent boyfriend jeans?
Oh my god.
Galen just rolls his eyes and goes and looks at Malleus and goes, "What? Didn't you ever play dress up when you were younger? It's fine. It's fine."
"I ain't never pretended nothing in my life. I'm more set on realistic goals. Ain't that right, Miss LaBelle?"
Mm-hmm.
Lione smiles and goes, "Yes, Malleus. I totally get it." Just happy that like Malleus likes her now.
Incus, meanwhile, has grabbed the whole ball of butter that Cordeia brought in and a large chunk of the bread and has just sort of like smashed it all together and is moving it towards his mouth.
Well, by all means, stuff your face. Don't ask if our guests want any first.
I
Just
just
kind of
assumed
stare longingly, like always down for some like fresh bread and butter. And she's like, "Angus, I'd really like some of that butter if you're willing to share."
He takes his finger and he's like just like slides off some of the butter and then holds it out to you.
Gris kind of like leans forward to Incus and she goes, "Incus, seems a lot of gourds have gone missing recently. Maybe a little bit more butter would be a better trade."
Incus goes a little pale and hands you the entire like bread butter ball he's made and he goes, "I'm right sorry, Miss Littlefoot. I'll go ask Stapes if she got any more butter for me."
And Gris kind of like raises her hand. She's like, "That won't be necessary," and cuts him off like a nice like pat, a good size amount of butter, and gives him back his bread and kind of like carves it off of the round ball he's attached it to. And she's like, "And for you," and then she starts like slicing out some butter and bread and handing it out to the rest of the party. And she just kind of like winks at Incus, like, "Just letting you know that I know."
Incus seems a little intimidated by you, takes his bread and goes to the kitchen and starts asking Travis a series of questions in the language from the other day, to which Travis responds with grunts.
Lione takes the bread and butter from Gris and just kind of starts eating and is like, "Oh my god. Can you tell me about the bread?"
The bread's great.
Got
But the
bread
butter's
description.
Butter's good too.
You want a bread description?
Oh, you
Yeah.
I want a bread description. Oh yeah.
All right, so this appears to be a bread that's meant for more savory meals. It is sort of just a classic sort of French loaf, but there's all kind of herbs that have been sort of baked into it. Also, as you bite into the butter, you realize that it is in fact a sort of compound butter. It's got some like garlic and onion flavors in it, and altogether it's just like very savory. It's still warm from the oven, despite the sort of lackadaisical getting around to eating the bread. And it goes quite well with the tea, which seems to be some kind of lavender bergamot flavor.
Gris is definitely dunking her bread in the tea, just as an FYI. That's what's happening on this side of the table.
Mm-hmm. Ari goes ahead, like once they've started to grab, they're like, okay, I'll grab a piece. So they grab a piece and sort of enjoy it, but with very like big bites and like long sips, not at all like dainty or like conscious of manners, basically. It's like, pretty good.
Galen is sort of
Yeah.
just subconsciously mimicking Gris and like just dipping his bread in the tea and just enjoying himself. He's like, wow, Travis really spares no expense, does he? And is just like happy. And then he saves a little bit of bread for his pig because he wants to feed his pig later.
Lione is just like, this is divine. And she looks at Maxilla and is like, this is very good bread. And she kind of turns around and like calls to Travis and is like, the bread is great. The bread, it's so good, Travis. I just wanted
Travis
you to know
gives
that.
you a thumbs up from the kitchen.
And Lione like thumbs up back. She's like,
Gris kind of
communication.
calls in after too, and she's like, Travis, come eat some of your bread with us. Like, just trying to poke the beast a little.
Travis comes in, takes a little bit of bread, looks at Gris, and is like, thank you. And then eats the bread quietly. Still standing.
Gris kind of just smiles at him, and she's like, would you like a seat? I'm happy to go help Stapes or something. Or go just stand in the corner. Let you enjoy your breakfast that you slaved so hard over.
He holds up a hand and shakes his head like, no need. And calls back to Incus in the language again. Incus reappears and looks at you and goes, can I have a little bit more bread, please, Miss Littlefoot?
Gris like smiles and like cuts him off like a good decent like chunk of bread and slathers it up in butter for him and hands it over and says, absolutely, like I would never keep you from your bread and butter. I just think we should maybe share the wealth.
As
Sharon's
for
dumb.
Travis, Ari just like kind of looks at them, probably just still standing, him just standing there eating his bread, and just go, well, at least now that he's learned it, I'm sure he can enjoy it whenever he wants, in whatever setting he wants.
Oh yeah. Remember when you made that chicken? Was it a chicken that Travis made us last time? And she kind of turns to Lione like for
Lione
confirmation.
nods.
And Gris is like,
It was a chicken.
this bread and that chicken, I bet that would
Imagine
be
the
divine.
combo, a sandwich.
Ooh.
Are sandwiches
Yeah.
a thing? Can we say just sandwich? What's that? When we're sandwiches?
If you guys can have boyfriend jeans, you can have
Hell yeah.
sandwiches.
Okay, bless.
Chicken sandwiches. Okay, great.
And she's like, yeah. And she like nods and was like, oh yeah, Travis, you gotta try it as a sandwich. Or sopping up the juice at the bottom of the pan. I bet it's really good.
Lione is like, ooh, okay. Oh.
Chris is like
And
trying to
then
get Travis to talk. Like, please, Travis, give me an iota of conversation.
Lione kind of looks to the group and says, so what's everyone gonna do today? And then today's the last day of the festival, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, this is the final day. A lot of people are going to try to be closing up shop. They're going to, I mean, we're all going out with a big bang tonight, but yeah, it's the last day to be doing anything, so
Is tonight your
don't
I
wait
have things
around.
Is the Big Bang that you're mentioning on
The hoedown.
the hoedown?
The bonfire. So we're going to have a big bonfire out in the back. As you saw, we saw the pyres. We're going to do some good old line dancing that I promised I'd teach y'all. And then there's also a couple of slower dances for the more intimate folk.
Why would you put down your hose? Isn't this a harvest festival?
At this, Travis actually
Leon
starts talking, and he
laughed
goes,
out loud at this.
Ariadne, hose are for sowing. You don't need them for harvesting.
Put down your scythe, baby.
But and then he smiles at you a little bit, Ari.
I just chuckle and smile back and be like, "You have a point."
She taught me that.
But yeah, I'm sorry I can't entertain y'all that much. I plan on hanging out with Stapes. We're doing our first, she's doing her first livestock show today, and I'm going to help her out. And Maxilla turns to B, and she says, hopefully I can get some time to hang out with you too before you skedaddle and I don't see you for 3 more months.
I don't ever know what you mean. I write plenty of letters.
Yeah, but I need quality time.
Fair enough.
Lione kind of finishes her bread, and she looks at Maxilla and says, "Are the stalls open already?"
It should be
roll a
open until
perception
sundown.
check.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
They're not open yet?
No, they'll be open until sundown.
Oh, okay.
But Maxilla, you actually can hear outside, sort of people starting to arrive. A lot of hustle and bustle. You can also hear what you think is the sound of Ba trying to talk people onto the new and improved hayride.
Exciting.
All through the open window in the kitchen.
Lione says, "Okay," and she stands up. She goes, "I did some shopping yesterday, but I didn't really do any shopping." And she kind of does like a hand motion. She's like, "I was doing some window shopping, and I've decided what I want to purchase. So I am going to go in, buy some things." And she kind of heads
There are
out
no
towards
windows.
the markets.
There was a window.
Malleus grabs onto Leone's elbow and goes, "Miss LaBelle, can I come with you?
Oh no, you don't want to go
Leon
shopping
smiles
with
and goes,
her.
I know exactly what I want."
"Yes, you do." Lione looks at Malleus and says, "I would love for you to join me." And then
Thank you,
she
Miss
looks at
LaBelle.
Galen.
Galen-
Malleus, seeming to remember what her mother said, then turns to Maxilla and she goes, "Maxilla, can I go with Miss LaBelle to go look at all the pretty things that they have in the stalls?"
Yeah, by all means. As long as Miss Lione lets you, go ahead.
"Thank you, Max." And she like grabs Leone's hand.
Lione goes with Malleus.
Galen just looks over to B and goes like, "Can you believe that there's 2 of them?"
Oh, I don't think either of them could ever be replicated.
Mm.
They're their own brand for sure. For sure.
B kind of just looks over to Ari and Galen and kind of goes like, Miss LaBelle is quite a person to look up to.
Yeah,
And
'cause
like
she's tall.
Are you saying I'm a bad role model? Galen says it sarcastically.
B just says, "I'm just saying that Lione is I just respect her lifestyle and am quite envious of it, and I'm sure I can see why Malleus would like to hang out with her, is all I'm saying."
Pincus, around a loaf of bread, goes, "She decided that she, hang on. She likes how shiny she is."
Gris kind of laughs and she's like, the lady part aside, there's a lot to look up to when it comes to Lione. She's both strong-willed and has a pretty solid head on her shoulders. So there are worse people Malleus could follow around.
Ari chuckles again, just like not obviously disagreeing, but keeping up the joke and just go, and again, tall. My neck hurts.
She is tall.
Travis sort of crosses his arms and he's like, she's not that tall.
Yeah, kind of short to me.
Compared to you, Travis.
Everyone's short to you, Travis. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Gris trying to change the subject is like, Maxilla, when are you going to go help Steepies with some of the animals? I'm happy to help out today if you guys will have me.
Clean up here real quick, and then we're going to head out to the barn, get those animals all gussied up, and then take them all over to the livestock show. It's in the morning. Probably should go about till noon.
Yeah,
So.
I'd love to lend a hand. Gris is like, I'm also particularly great at breeding manes.
That's great. Or I would love to compare notes about Brayden.
Oh my god.
With this, Bee kind of pouts a little bit to Maxilla and kind of goes, "But Maxilla, how will I ever judge those pies without you?"
Well, you can see if they'll let you in last minute, but there is also the pie eating contest later on that we could do if you wanted to try it out.
I guess all areas need some critiquing. I'll take you up on that offer.
All right. But I think we'll try to get you in as a judge next year officially. I mean, I think you're very qualified.
Did you tell them about my posts?
I don't think your name had gotten around yet enough by the time we were trying to pick judges. I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
I know, but it wasn't enough just to say I had a friend. I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough people believe in me. I'm sorry.
Did you show them my portraits?
No, I did not.
Oh my god.
Sure, that always gets me in.
Box a little at this, just like, oh, okay.
As that was said, Galen was like sipping on his tea, and as soon as he hears the word portraits, he kind of just like chokes on his tea a little bit.
Bee kind of leans on Galen a little bit this time, and she's just like, she didn't show them my portraits, darling. Oh, honey, what will I do?
Oh, what
There's
a
nothing
travesty.
for me to do.
Maxilla
What a
rolls her
travesty.
eyes to the back of her head. But in a very teasing, loving way.
Gris is just like watching from across the table, like, what an interesting combination of humans and non-humans. Mostly non-humans.
Not a single human, actually.
Yeah, no human.
So isn't it all non-humans technically?
Yeah.
Between Lione and Maxilla, you have and Galen,
Galen's
You have
half
full
human.
human.
you have
Yeah.
1.5
Between
humans.
the
It's
three of
one
us,
and a
there's
half
one
humans
human.
when Leone is there.
Bee kind of actually, while she's leaning on Galen, kind of goes, I guess everyone's busy. How will we keep ourselves entertained?
Well, we could try and sell those boyfriend jeans. I think that's a great idea.
Travis like sort of like snickers and he's like, "You're just not very smart, my friend."
Did Galen sort of like puts his hand on his chest, like flatter, like, did Travis just call me friend?
Galen say that?
Saying it sarcastically, like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Travis glowers and then retreats back into the kitchen.
Gris is like, you made him go back in the kitchen.
Galen immediately just puts his head on the table and he's
He
like,
steps forward, one step back.
All right, so at this point, the door swings open and Stapes enters the room. Maxilla, we're gonna be late, Maxilla.
All right, I'm
No.
sorry, Stapes. I got lost track of time. Here, let me just put these plates in the sink and then we can go, all right?
Okay. Hi, Travis. Oh, and hi, Maxilla's friends.
Nice Stapes.
Gris gets up to like help Maxilla with the dishes and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
so does
Hi,
Ari.
Gris.
gives
How Miss
Stapes a
Gris?
smile.
I
Stapes,
didn't. You're a little hard to see over the top of the table. I'm sorry.
Gris kind of lets out a laugh that's probably a little bit bigger than her size, and she goes, "Stapes, I have a question for you. How would you feel about learning some more healing and herbal remedies and things like that?"
The stuff with the herbs, I think it'd be nice because then I could learn how to take care of the animals when they're sick or injured. I don't want to have to. I don't like losing the animals, Miss Gris.
Oh, Gris is like, big sad face, and kind of like reaches out to Stapes' arm, and she's like, "Oh, I know, dear." And she's like, "Well, I was thinking about sending a letter to Nyx. I think I mentioned her to you. She's the healer that I've been training back in Dreamer's Grove.
Yeah, she's the one who's got the orc name.
Yeah,
An orc name.
she's a half orc. So I thought it might be nice if she came and picked up the pig that Lione wrangled and that I maybe I'm going to take back home to Reese and stayed a while and taught you some things. Does that sound good?"
That sounds great. Also, the pink lady's got a pig. I've been taking care of it too.
Oh yes, Galen really loves that pig.
Galen's eyes just like light up.
He rolls her eyes.
Yeah. I pipe up, like, having remembered that we are pig owners now, and turn to Maxilla really quickly and say, speaking of, I can bequeath my own pig back to you. I remember you said it was for the families, and I really don't know what the temple where'd it go? I just don't think it'd be very happy there.
Ari, Stapes turns to you real quickly and goes, "I used to have a pig that slept in my bed like with me, like it was a little puppy. But then Incas told mom made me put it back in the barn. But I had it for like 2 or 3 months.
Oh,
Maxilla didn't tattle on me because she's cool.
she is
Damn
cool.
right.
She is. I'm glad your pig got 2 or 3 wonderful cozy months.
His name's Orgors, and sometimes I take naps out there still. Maxilla takes naps on cows. You ever heard about that? Travis,
No.
did you know that Maxilla takes naps on cows? Maxilla, we're gonna be late. Why you get me talking about cows?
Let's get
Oh my
going.
God, I love Stapes.
Gris
And,
follows
yeah.
Stapes and Maxilla.
Yeah, we head out to the barn.
All right, so you 3 are headed in the direction of the barn. Lione and Malleus are looking at the stalls. This leaves Ari, Galen, and B still to determine what they're going to do with the rest of their day.
B sighs deeply and kind of looks at the leftover piece of bread on Galen's plate. And kind of looks to Galen again and kind of goes, "We're gonna need to name him."
I thought of
you're
a
going
perfect name, and
she
Galen-
also looks, she interrupts him and she kind of goes, "And you're going to need to take care of him."
I can do that.
Ari just chuckles from like across the table and goes, "Wow, what an important milestone you 2 have reached."
Travis snorts from in the kitchen, but doesn't say anything.
And with that, I'll leave you to make a very important decision. And I head into the kitchen.
And B cocks a little eyebrow and looks to Galen and says, "Well, go on. Grab his breakfast, I suppose."
Galen grabs the bread and grabs B's hand and sort of just bursts out the door to find Stapes to figure out where this pig is at.
Okay, so let me keep track of where everybody is. Actually, you guys did a pretty good job of splitting the party without going too far, and I do want to give you like a little bit of just a little brief moment of thank you. You did a
You're
very good job.
Was it very sexy of me?
We're gonna start with Ari, you're
Okay.
in the most localized area.
Fair
Ari,
enough.
you enter the kitchen, and Travis has sort of started to wash the dishes, but seems to have foregone it in favor of staring intently at the book that Lione gave him.
Okay. Well, I see him. I don't know that I noticed that anything is like up, so at first I'll just go. Would you like some help? It's not as though I've got many places to be.
No, this is routine. I like routines.
Fair enough. They're pretty enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Have
no.
you-
Sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
It's all right. I'm just reading, if you can call it that. I'm reading.
Is that the book Leon gave you? The one you made the bread from?
Yeah, I like the bread.
It's quite delicious. You should be proud.
Thank you. I find cooking to be quite comforting.
I find your cooking to be quite comforting. I'm sure something could be left to be desired from mine if my party mates are any indication. Though I did fine for like a decade on my own, so I don't know what they're complaining about.
He actually laughs a little bit at that, and he's like, "It's so strange how long your kind lives."
I won't argue there, but it's strange to me too.
So, and he like looks at you, and he's like, "I know it's early, but tavern usually opens around this time. Can I believe I owe you a drink or two."
I do believe you said something of the sort, and if you know enough about me by now, you know I have no qualms about the schedule.
I don't need to know you. I've been a bartender for long enough. There's a type. And he like sort of like gestures at you a little awkwardly, but clearly not with any ill will.
No, yeah. I just like I just give a good laugh at that. And go, fair enough. I'm not gonna ask any more about what that says about me, because it's probably true. So go for it.
He nods and sort of like gestures at the table with his chin, presumably for you to sit.
Cool. I sit down, and now that like there's some more space and the others aren't here, I just like completely lounge, just like I'm doing one leg on another chair. The gayest of sitting. I'm not gonna explain it.
He sort of finishes wiping down one of the mugs that he's drying, and brings it over to you, sets it down, and goes back to the kitchen, retrieving a clay pitcher, which he pours into the cup, and he goes, "I made that mead. Feel free to tell me if it's crap."
I certainly will, but I really doubt it. And I take a sip, and promptly just like smack my lips and go, better than most.
He nods and he goes, "Do you mind if I do something wildly unprofessional?"
Never. Go for it.
He goes in the kitchen, grabs himself a mug of mead, and sits down across from you.
Oh, thank goodness. Would hate for this to be too transactional.
Well, you didn't pay, so normally that would get you. And he like does like a little punching gesture.
Yes, I do remember. Brings me not an insignificant amount of joy, that memory.
He holds up a mug for you to click together. Meanwhile, outside, Lione, you and Malleus are wandering the stalls. They are colorful, they are filled with goods, some of which you actually have never seen. It's a little unclear if it's just from sort of your fairly new introduction to travel, or the uniquely agrarian setting in which you've found yourself.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a couple of stalls that Lione would be looking for. I feel like she'd want to hit, if these exist, probably like a stall for candles, a stall for
There's a candle
soaps,
stall.
perfumes, or books.
There's definitely going to be a stall for candles and soaps. The other two you may have to ask your companion about.
Okay. So I guess we'll start at the candle stall. And Lione just kind of starts smelling the candles and looks to Malleus and says, "Do you like candles? Are you a fan?
I love candles.
What's your favorite smell?"
She like looks very thoughtful and she goes, "When I was little, when Maxilla was maybe 18, she had this herb garden that she and Ba planted, and she grew all this lavender, and I really liked the lavender, but the bees that were attracted to it kept stinging Stapes, so Ma pulled it all up and moved it inside, but then it died. Ma's not as good with plants as Ba is, but she's real strong."
Everybody has their strengths. And Lione kind of goes, "Lavender is one of my mother's favorite smells as well." And then Lione looks to the shopkeep and says, "Do you have any lavender scented candles?"
The shopkeeper is a man. He looks to be human. A little rough and tumble, but actually out of everybody you've seen so far, one of the better dressed. He has like a small pair of eyeglasses on and he goes, "Lavender." Yes! And he reaches down under the counter and pulls up a box, opening it, and in it are several candles. You can see sort of grains of lavender mixed into the wax.
Lione kind of holds her hand out and says, "May I smell it?"
He hands you one.
Lione smells it and she kind of holds it down and over to Malleus.
Malleus takes it and sniffs it and goes, "Miss LaBelle, that smells just like Maxilla's garden did. Are you gonna get that for your mom?"
"I'm gonna get one for you and my mom. You can keep that one." And she looks at the shopkeep and says, "I'll take that one and one more."
The shopkeep hands you another one and goes, "That'll be 3 copper." I don't know why he has that accent now, but he does.
It's very valid.
Lione kind of looks through her purse, and I want to say she learned from last time.
Oh, yeah.
She only brought gold last time. I feel like she understands now the concept of change. And so she pulls out 5 coppers and hands it to the gentleman.
The man counts them and he goes, "Ma'am, this is..."
"You can keep them, it's fine. Trust me, it's fine. It's really fine."
He pockets them and he goes, "It was a pleasure doing business with you. You better come back to Veery Valley from whatever big city you from someday."
"I will. I am friends with the osteoclasts now, so you'll see me again. And if my mother likes your candles, you may very well get a letter for more. Just be prepared. It'll be a lot." Yeah. And Lione kind of asks, "Do you have a business card or something?" Like, this is all very foreign to Lione.
The man blinks at you, pulls out a like weird scrap of paper and sort of scribbles his information on it and hands it to you.
Lione kind of puts it beside the candle and puts the candle in her bag. And she looks at Malleus and she says, "Do you know of anyone who sells books here? Do people sell books at harvest festivals?"
Malleus looks thoughtful and she goes, "I ain't never seen nobody selling books here, but when I get bored, I steal books from Maxilla's room. She reads a lot of romance novels, which you wouldn't pin down for her, but she does."
Lione chuckles and says, "Actually, I think I would. That doesn't surprise me. Believe it or not, a lot of people read romance books, Malleus. And
Do you read romance, Miss LaBelle? Have you ever been to a
I-
ball?
I have, actually. A lot of them. Like, a lot. Regularly.
There's a lot of balls in the romance books that she reads.
It's like a common thing in Alis when you're a lady or a lord or a princess or a prince. It's kind of like a harvest festival. It's a way to socialize and get to know other people in a very pretentious way.
Malleus gets sort of a far-off look in her eyes, and then she looks back and she goes, Ma sometimes says I'm pretentious. I have a question.
Yes, I have an answer.
You ain't never seen no orcs at those balls before, have you?
And Lione ponders and thinks. And she says, I haven't. But I also haven't seen many elves. And I got to change that. So maybe I'll bring you to a ball someday. And then we can change that for orcs.
Malleus smiles super big, and she goes, "Oh, Miss LaBelle, you already gave me a candle. That's more than enough. But if you ever do want to bring an orc, you should invite me over Incus. He's poorly behaved."
Oh, I would definitely invite you over Incus. You can come visit me in Alis whenever I'm in Alis.
I would like that very much, Miss LaBelle.
I think you'd like it.
I think I would too. I like fancy things. I like things that are pretentious.
And Leon kind of like sits up and like flicks her hair and goes, "We have that in common." And then kind of starts to walk over to like another like stand, like a soap stand or something, so that they can walk and talk at the same time.
So as Lione and Malleus talk, meanwhile, at the barn, Maxilla and Gris, you approach Stapes. Maxilla, you sort of hop the fence to the gated enclosure outside of the barn, where Stapes is very gently brushing a sheep, lovingly, tenderly. She seems to be whispering to the sheep, saying something sweet. Gris, you notice about 50 feet away, Cordea is watching her, with her arms crossed, with a little bit of a worried expression on her face. Maxilla, though, you approach your sister, just very excited to share this experience with her.
Gris,
Yeah, Gris, go ahead. Go first.
I was gonna say Gris is probably gonna walk over to Cordea, and kind of see if she can chat with her a little bit. So she kind of walks over and says, "You seem rather unsure today. Everything okay, Cordea?"
Cordea, looks down at you and goes, "Well, you're mighty sweet to ask. I'm okay. It's hard enough for the kids to be one of us without everything that happened last night. And honestly, I'm a little worried about Stapes. Chet, they're strong. You know, they weren't ever afraid of me, so I'm sure they weren't afraid there. But Stapes is none of my children are fragile, but if there was, it would be Stapes."
Gris kind of looks over at Stapes as she kind of brushes the sheep and turns to Cordea and says, "There's a lot to be learned from animals, though. I know sometimes," and Gris kind of just chuckles and she's like, "Gosh, even when I was younger, I spent a good bit of time around animals and in the woods and things like that, and I'm sure people thought maybe I was soft too. But I think she'll learn to be stronger than you think. She seems to have a real penchant for learning and exploring."
Oh, she is smart. I'll give her that. She reads so quickly. We run out of things to give her, but And she sort of like sighs for a minute, and she goes, the animals are nice. I think that she and Maxilla are a lot alike in that way. It's hard to be young and have the anger and rage and grumsh inside of you, and I always thought that maybe the animals are what made those two so sweet and gentle. Although, I'm sure you've seen Maxilla swing the hammer around. She's like me in that way.
There's a nice duality to Maxilla. She's sweet and gentle, but also can hold her own. Hopefully Stapes will grow up to be the same.
Well, if Grumsh stays quiet, I'm not too worried about Stapes at all.
Yeah, you mentioned Grumsh. How quiet has that god been lately?
Oh, I can't hear him at all, so I'd imagine that they can't either.
And how long?
I know you seem awful concerned, but it's been nice for us. A few weeks, really, not long at all. But the moment it stopped, it was hard not to notice.
Well, it just seems like it's not just Grumsh. It seems like, I know you guys talked about Shanti, and I know on our end, Sylvanas, and has been a little quiet too.
Well, the relationship with gods for orcs is always a little hard. Miss, I wanted to say your name was Gris. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
Gris kind of chuckles and places a hand on her arm and says, yes, it's Gris. Of course, Cordelia, no worries. And she just kind of says, yeah. Hearing Grumsh normally, I don't know a lot about that god, I have to be honest. Seems like not pleasant. You said you were actually kind of grateful to not hear anymore, but you're worried about Stapes' safety.
Well, see, the thing about orcs is we hear Grumsh all the time, and we're taught that the way to get Grumsh to be quiet, to appease him, is to follow his will. So we do a lot of killing, really, and without killing, we lose who we are, because the voice never gets any quieter. And I've been taught, Chet taught me, that there's other ways to appease Grumsh, that love works just as good as hatred, but the kids have always been pretty good at that. I mean, Incus he's troublesome, but they've never been... Maybe it's the human, it waters it down. They've never had the same sort of intensity to it. Gris, are you married?
Gris beams. I am. Happily so. Why do you ask?
You asked me about Grumsh, and it got me thinking about how nice it is to be married. That's all. It's fine. I'm just...
Gris kind of nods, and she's like, you didn't have to fight Grumsh alone. You had Chet, and they helped you. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess. I met Chet when I was young, and I was lost, and I didn't really feel like I knew who I was anymore, and they found me broken, and they loved every broken piece of me, even the pieces they had to help me find. And you mentioned Shanti, and she they showed me her, and it was nice to know that there was a god who gives life instead of taking it away. And that was nice. So yeah, I guess I'm upset. I guess for me, Shanti is, and she sort of looks at Maxilla and Stapes, who are both brushing the sheep and sort of whispering to each other, and she goes, Miss Gris, it's easy for Orc to believe in gods because we carry ours with us wherever we go. He never shuts the hell up. But it's a lot harder for us to believe in love, Miss Gris. And to believe that we won't be forsaken, either by our gods or by the people we love. So I guess when I heard that your gods weren't talking to you, it's not that odd for me, Miss Gris.
Gris kind of nods and looks down for a second, kind of thoughtful. And she extends a hand to Cordeia and just kind of says, well, I'm glad you found Shantae. And if the gods aren't talking, there's definitely something going on. And Gris kind of just clears her throat for a second. And she's like, but lean on the people who love you. On Chet, Stapes, Ancus, Maxilla, your whole osteoclast family. And she's like, maybe we can find a way to figure out what's going on and bring us all some peace.
She sort of laughs at that for a moment. She goes, oh, sorry. Miss Gris, I just think you should know orcs, we ain't big on idioms. So, I just thought you should know that, one time when I was pregnant with the triplets, they're huge, you can see them. I literally did lean on Chet and, they fell right over and broke their arm.
Gris crackles and she's like, okay, fair. I am quite smaller than Chet, so maybe lean on me very metaphorically and everyone else very metaphorically. And she just kind of laughs and like shakes her head, like not sure how else to like clarify that, but loving the like bluntness of Cordeia.
Of course I will. I got a quick question, Miss Gris. And she like points beyond you to Maxilla and Stapes, who are brushing this sheep still. They seem to be having a very in-depth conversation. And she goes, you ever notice that pink one's almost the same color as the pigs they were wrestling? And you notice that B is attempting to scale the enclosure as Galen watches from behind her.
Gris just like chuckles and she's like, oh no, what is she doing? And kind of walks over to go see what's happening.
Do you want help, B?
I got it. I know what I'm doing. Aren't you? Which one's yours?
The cute one, obviously.
So me, I know that. And which other one?
You're not
other
a pig.
one.
Gris kind of walks up at this moment and like crosses her arm and she like takes a minute and she's kind of like in her head, but she's actually like casting animal friendship and listening to the pigs, and she points over kind of into the corner of the enclosement. She's like, that one's yours. And she's like, what are you doing?
Stapes at this point has sort of looked up and noticed all of you, and she leans over to Maxilla and she goes, Maxilla, your friend's gonna fall off of that fence.
Oh, well, I wouldn't worry about B. She's pretty acrobatic. She knows how to land on her feet.
Like a cat?
Like a cat.
Your friends are weird, Maxilla.
I know. You don't, hey, Stapes, you don't pick your friends in life. They just come.
I'd like to make some friends someday, Maxilla.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, we don't have any. The biggest problem with this town is that we're the only kids, and you don't know. They finally started talking to us recently, but I'm sure we'll get some friends too, Stapes. You'll get some friends too, Stapes. You're sweet as can be.
The other kids are mean to me.
Yeah, I know.
But you're my friend.
Well, say names. I'll rough them up.
Okay, Incus cut off one of their hairs.
A single hair?
No, one of their all their hair.
Well, I'm glad that he did that to someone that's mean to you, but that's not a great way to set a good impression for friends.
Meanwhile, B is kind of telling Galen, she's like, I promise it won't bite. Maxilla! It won't bite me!
No, B, it's a pig. It ain't gonna bite you.
Gris,
But what if I look scrumptious?
I mean, you always do, but that's beside the point.
Bonk. Stapes, let me go help her real quick, I guess. Or okay. I guess, I mean, the sheep here is looking pretty gussied up. If you don't, you can put on the finishing touches. I'll help her out real quick.
While Maxilla goes to help B, can Gris walk over to Stapes?
Yes, absolutely, you can.
We high five as we pass each other.
We probably miss, honestly, because you're so tall and I'm so small.
It's a low five,
And Gris is like fully extended arm.
It's a high five and a low five at the same time.
It's a high-low, if you will.
The high-low.
Stapes watches you two high five, and as you approach, she goes, "You're not weird, Miss Gris." I said her friends were weird. I meant the one with the pants and the other one.
Gris is just like, "Oh, Stapes, I think we're all a little weird, especially together. None of us make any sense." And she's like, "That's kind of the beauty of it. But how can I help you? What do you need help with? Let's get you all ready for this wonderful showing of your animals."
I mean, I think they're ready. Usually I help Maxilla get them ready, and she shows them. I'm a little nervous, and
You're nervous.
I miss Beans.
Beans?
Beans was the horse.
Oh, Stapes.
I mean, it's okay. We've had wolves eat them before, and I mean, they ate them once, and then Maxilla came out here with the hammer and scared them out the next couple nights. But I just my ma doesn't eat horses.
Well, go ahead.
I never seen Travis eat a horse. Oh my god, do you think you don't think Travis eats horses, do you?
Of course not, Stapes. Have you seen what he cooks? There's no way that man's touching horse with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, that's good. He's handsome, right? I think he's handsome.
I think he's very handsome. And I think he has quite the thing for your sister, Maxilla.
Yeah, well, everybody does. Everybody likes Maxilla. She's easy to talk to.
Well, you're easy to talk to too, Stapes. I've gotten to know you really well since being here, and I've enjoyed it.
That's because you're nice to me. Nobody's ever nice to me. Maxilla's nice to me, and Ma, and Malleus and Incus when they feel like it, and the sheep.
Well,
meanwhile, the pig is now snuffling around B as she sort of like half hangs off of the fence and sees Galen and oinks at him.
Ah! Oh my god.
My sweet child. Look at him, B. Isn't he adorable?
Yes, your sweet child. I see the resemblance.
B is overcome with laughter as she sort of slips off of the fence and B, roll an acrobatics check.
Oh.
Queen.
Ooh, 23.
Oh my god. B, the slip off the fence isn't graceful, but you manage to land in like a perfect gymnast finish.
And Maxilla turns over and yells across like the pasture, and she's like, "See, I told you." She lands on her feet. To Stapes.
Stapes is like, "Miss Gris, your friends are weird."
Very, very weird, Stapes.
Galen's just like, I'm glad you got over the fence okay, but he's fawning over this small pig.
Kind of says, well, you gotta feed him. You gotta show me what you're going to take care of him. That's why we're here.
Right, and Galen pulls out the bread that he saved from earlier and sort of just hand feeds it to the pig.
The pig eats it.
Oh my god, he's so cute. Oh my god. Gale is just loving this so much. And he reaches out to pet the pig gently and just says out loud without even thinking, I'm gonna call you Wrath.
Oh my god.
Oh, he likes it.
The pig at this point gives you like a little lick and then turns his attention back to B.
Well,
And if you raise them right, that's good eating.
Maxilla.
I like Max.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help but rib you. I know you're going to raise it as a pet. But wow, what a waste.
Oh, this pig will be a valuable asset. It won't just be a pet.
B just takes a deep sigh and looks at Galen and looks back at the pig and looks at Maxilla.
I'm sorry I introduced him to pig wrestling.
Oh my god.
As you debate the future of this pig, inside, Travis and Ari have now clinked to him punching Galen in the face.
Happily.
Oh god.
So,
Oh.
I don't have a lot of friends. I mean, I have friends. I have Maxilla and a kid who works for me, and B's an acquaintance, friend of Maxilla's. Can I ask you a question?
By all means.
He like holds up a finger, and he goes, "Finish your drink."
I happily chug whatever's left.
He pours you both another drink, and he goes, "So, elves, your type live incredibly long lives,
That
Right.
we do.
and I'm guessing because you don't look like you're about 16, you've lived 3 or 4 orc lifetimes by now."
I have to admit I don't know much about orc lifetimes, but that does seem accurate.
So, and he takes like
Ari's
a
face
big
softens at
swig.
how hard it seems to be for him to start this.
He goes, "Have you ever been in love with someone?"
Deep breath, and then like holds up like a give me a sec finger and takes a long swig, and then like puts it down and just like, all right, like gets ready, just like prepares, and goes, yes, deeply.
How'd that go?
I'm sorry to say that it did not have a happy ending, Travis. Why do you ask?
I was gonna ask you for advice, but now I feel like maybe I owe you another drink.
I mean, I'll always accept, but by all means, what I can tell you is that I may not give the best advice, but I'll do what I can. We were very much in love, even engaged in the way we get engaged. So is this about what Maxilla may or may not have said the other night?
I mean, my timing isn't great. It's never been great, but orcs aren't really taught to love So I don't know when's the right time to tell someone, and now I'm a little worried I've messed it up, and I told her at a time when we were both dealing with, and he like sort of like gestured, he's like orc things, and
Yeah. Ari starts nodding along yes, it's okay, like it's okay to try and find the words. And it just takes another swig and like motions for him to do the same to like get him a little more relaxed.
Orcs, we have this god that lives in us, and when you're raised by orcs, not like Cordea, but I don't want to say real orc, she's real orc, but in the clan you're taught that love is a weakness. And I don't know why I'm telling you this. I think
That's perfectly fair. I mean, I can't speak to my character, but I hope you know that I care and think of you fondly, so I'm gonna try and do my best here, if you'll be patient with me as well. I can't speak to what I'm sure is a very difficult upbringing, for lack of a better word. And while I was never taught that love was wrong, I was taught that our love was wrong, which is why it ended so tragically. So as for timing, all I can really tell you is the sooner the better, because you deserve every second of time you can get.
Travis nods. He goes, "You know why I like you, Ariadne?"
No, I do not. And I take another swig and chuckle.
You seem like someone who has a lot in common with me. I think we both understand that it's easier to care for someone with 18 inches of bar top between you. And something about you seems like you're looking for redemption. You don't drink that much unless you're looking to redeem yourself.
Well, nobody's ever put it in quite so many words, my conversational friend, but you're not wrong. And Ari, like, gives a slight smile, and goes, there are a lot of feelings I wanted to get away from, and when I joined Temple, the idea was to teach me that, to no avail. So believe me when I say, I appreciate your ale. Hey, that rhymed.
he like nods appreciatively at the rhyme, and he goes, So, Temple, you're familiar with gods, right?
Yes, I'll admit I didn't pay as much attention as I should have, but I know quite a bit, or at least I listen to my friends' rants quite a bit, which is why I'd love to help how I can. As I explained, like, it seems it's not just your gods, but all of them that have grown quiet, so whatever this is, it's I wouldn't want any of you to feel alone or like it's your fault, because there's obviously something bigger at play.
Ari, it's my personal belief that there are some gods that is better to have abandon us, but I think it's interesting. You don't strike me like a believer.
That's fair. And you're right, I can't speak to how the gods are deserving of our attention or not. And I wouldn't say I have faith, I just can't ignore them as easily as I once did. And whether it's their influence or not, it's pretty nice to believe that someone's looking out for you somewhere, even if that someone is just someone like a cleric or paladin looking out for you.
He nods thoughtfully and he goes, I don't think anyone can count on the gods to look out for them, Ariadne. I think if you're lucky, the best you can count on them for is to abandon you when it matters least. And he like sips the rest of his mead, and then he sort of looks up at you, his hands clasped on the table, and he's like, you gave me some good advice, and so I'm going to give you 2 pieces of it. The first, he like looks at you with a look that's all too familiar from other bartenders, and he goes, you really shouldn't start drinking this early in the morning, even if it's with friends.
Ari laughs out loud at that and goes, fair enough, continue.
And, you know, Ariadne, just because you don't believe in something doesn't make it any less real. That goes for the gods, for your redemption. And he sort of like looks at you for a moment and goes, falling in love more than once a lifetime.
Ari takes just a very deep breath of that and takes like a long gulp of what's left of their ale and just goes, well, I'd want to have better words, but thank you will have to do, since you remind me a lot of someone as well. And all I would extend is, I think you're right. And what she would add is, it's not always about the faith, it's about the practice of it. So maybe it is good that he abandoned you, and it'll bring you peace, but hopefully that can stay no matter what happens.
He nods thoughtfully and looks like he's going to say something, but as he opens his mouth, the door slams open and Incus enters the room dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome!
Ari! I have to say, Maxilla's distracted, and if we are going to put you in that squash toss, it's gotta be now. Oh, hey, Travis, you want to help me put them in the squash toss? Meanwhile, outside, Malleus and Lione. Lione, Malleus has taken you to the soap stand. You've managed to purchase some very nice soaps, and you are now standing, sort of facing the back door of the farmhouse, looking around at all the other stalls. When Malleus looks to you and goes, Miss LaBelle? Lady LaBelle. That's got a nice ring to it. What do you think of Lady Malleus? I think that sounds nice. Lady Osteoclast.
I love it. I think it sounds great. I think you should start getting your family to call you that.
I think I will. Incus just stormed in the house. We could wait for him to come out, and I could see how he likes it.
I think that's a fantastic idea. And Leon kind of chuckles and says, so what got you into fancy stuff over your family?
Well, Miss LaBelle, we, I don't know if you noticed, but we don't look like a lot of people around here. And, it's been a little hard to make friends. Maxilla gets to leave because she's strong and old. But, me and Incus and Stapes, we kind of have to stay here, and we don't have very many friends. And I love them. Stapes is nice, and Incus is interesting, but there's not much to do here except for think, and so I like to read. I like reading. Ba taught us to read, and I like to read about high society, and there's never any orcs, but I always imagine that if Ma was a human, I'd be real pretty, just like you.
Leon, that like kind of breaks Leon's heart because she gets it. Because obviously Leon was raised in Alis, which is the human capital, and her mother is a human noble. And so growing up, she was pretty much like one of the only elves, and so she was a little bit of an outcast. So this like Leon really has to like try to stop to like not get choked up here. And Leon looks at Malleus and says, you know, in Alis, I was one of the only people with pointy ears. And that made some people think that I was less beautiful. But I know that I'm beautiful. And I know that you are very beautiful. And you don't have to worry. I think you're so beautiful, Malleus.
Well, Maxilla always tells me I'm pretty, but I think that's because I look like her and she's self-centered. But it means a lot coming from you because you're pretty.
I mean it. I mean it. And I also mean it. We're gonna get you to a ball. We're gonna come to Alis. And you know what? We're going to show high society that there's a space for everyone.
I guess. Thank you, Miss LaBelle. I'd like that. I'm just a little worried they don't make dresses for girls as tall as me. I ain't never seen Maxilla in a dress, now that I think about it. If she gets married to Travis, is she gonna wear overalls?
I know a very good tailor who can definitely make a dress for someone as tall as you, and who can definitely make a dress for someone as tall as Maxilla. So no, there will be no overalls at a wedding.
I'll make sure she invites you because I bet she tries to wear overalls, and that just won't fly. And guess
Malleus, you have to let me stop it.
she nods to you enthusiastically, and she yells across the space between y'all and the house. And as Incus leads Ariadne and Travis, who sort of is several feet behind them, out of the door. Meanwhile, over by the barn, Maxilla and Stapes have sort of wrangled together a large herd of sheep, quite a few pigs, a couple of cows, which just looking at Maxilla seem to get a little bit sleepy, as if they're thinking about nap time. Meanwhile, Galen is cradling the pig, looking at it lovingly. B is looking at it with a strange mixture of maybe envy, maybe she wants to be the one being cradled, and a little bit of love, though it's hard to see if you don't know B that well. Gris, you are watching Stapes and Maxilla, and Stapes approaches you for a minute and goes, Miss Gris.
Yeah.
Thank you for the nice things you said about beans.
Stapes, you'll have many animals come to your life, and they're all going to be worth it. But it hurts when they go. But you will also have friends who enter your life. And I hope while Nyx is here, you two get along well. She's not that much older than you.
Do you think we'll be friends?
Yeah, I think you will be. You guys have a lot in common.
Maxilla, come over here. Maxilla.
Maxilla trots over.
Maxilla, Miss Gris says that she's going to send a friend to have a visit.
Well, ain't that exciting? I'm sure we'll give her a big old warm welcome, won't we, Stapes?
Yeah, she also agrees and says that Travis is very handsome.
Very handsome. And Gris winks at Maxilla, and she's like, but when Nyx is here, y'all put her to work. She can take care of animals. She can heal. She can do poultices. Send her into the village. Try to get her to help you however you need, okay?
They don't like
All right,
orcs.
I'm sure we can learn from each other.
Sorry, Stapes?
They don't like orcs.
Well,
they're mean to our mama, and they're mean to us.
Well, Nyx won't be mean to you. And hopefully maybe you guys can all kind of group together, and the village will start to see that you guys are as great as we all see you.
That's true. I bet they do. Because Maxilla says we're pretty great. Maxilla's pretty smart. Maxilla, I have a question.
Yes.
Did they know that pigs don't like to be held that way?
I think the pig's about to teach them that.
Meanwhile, Galen, you are cradling the pig. B is standing next to you.
Galen puts the pig down. That was a very aggressive snort.
Wrath sits down on B's foot.
B tries to push Wrath off of her foot very gently by kind of with her hand but not also trying not to touch Wrath.
Wrath licks her hand before she can move it away.
Oh.
Maxilla. Oh wait, no, I'm over with Stapes. Never mind.
You can see them. You can in fact see them. Gris, you're able to see this.
How far away am I? Do I have to shout this?
You're about 20 feet away.
Oh, okay. I'll loudly speak, but leave like, oh, he likes you.
Gris kind of nods enthusiastically. You know, sitting on an animal sitting on your foot usually means that they've claimed you. Hate to break it to you, B.
Maybe. Miss
Oh,
Gris, I
sorry.
have a question. How did Maxilla and Miss B both get real handsome suitors? Where are they finding them? All the boys here look like they got shit on by pig. They got pooped on by pig. Don't tell Maxilla I use that word, please.
I won't tell Maxilla. I won't tell her. Well, Stapes, after you learn a little bit more and you get a little stronger, maybe you'll have to go on an adventure to find someone who's handsome and worthy of your time.
Maxilla found hers in a bar.
Sometimes you find them in a bar, sometimes you find them in other unsavory places, but you know, if it works, it works. She's just like,
She
oh, God.
nods. B, meanwhile, this pig is sitting on you, giving you gentle kisses.
Seeing B like clearly in distress, Galen just scoops B up and starts cradling her instead.
Pushes Galen off. This is a lot of stimulation for B in one moment. Once she just looks both at Galen and both at Wrath and just says, "You're both cute. You can keep them."
Galen
And
sort of
that's
does like
all.
yeah, Galen sort of does like a High School Musical esque like yeah, like jump up in
Oh
the
my
air.
God.
He's just so excited, and he he goes, "Trust me, you're gonna love him. It'll be fine." I mean, Gris said that he already likes you.
He does. It's very. I was like, I don't even have to talk to him to tell you that.
Ma thinks it's because they're the same color.
That's very smart. Could have something to do with that. And then Gris is like, oh, B, you're Wrath's mother. You're a mother. B, how does it feel?
And B kind of looks up to her god for a moment. And she looks back down at Wrath and she kind of just goes, "I'm not your mama." And as she kind of tries to quickly walk away closer to Gris, hoping that the pig will stay put near Galen.
The pig follows you.
Can't leave motherhood that easily. B. You'll get attached. Don't you worry. And if you need help, send me a letter, or if we're hard to reach, send Reese a letter. He's great with animals.
Meanwhile, across the Harvest Festival, you approach what looks like a large slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
Malleus is cradling a huge collection of rotting soft gourds. Lione, Malleus has sort of dragged you the entire time, complaining about how it smells so bad, he's so immature, etc., etc. And then looks at you and goes, "I have to go get Maxilla. I have to. Maxilla!" And she like takes off sprinting across the entire Harvest Festival, arriving in front of the collection of people who are now standing with Stapes and the pig. "Maxilla! Hang on. Oh, why am I so out of breath? I run around the farm all the time. Maxilla, I think Incus is gonna put your pointy-eared friend, not Lady LaBelle, the other one, in the gourd launcher."
Maxilla kind of freaks out though because like the livestock festival is about to happen and she doesn't know if she has enough time to do all this. So she turns to Stapes and she's like, listen, you got this. I'll be in the crowd at the Livestock Festival. I know you got it from here, Stapes. You're going to show off that sheep and just show off how good you take care of these animals, all right? But I got to stop your brother from killing one of my friends. And Maxilla starts running and just like tap Stapes one more time. Says like, but you got this, and I will be cheering you on in the crowd. I promise. And then she.
While this is. Oh no.
Goes,
you finish?
Well, I
was trying to say
Malleus.
I'm waiting.
Malleus is like, he's your brother too. And then takes off sprinting with you towards the gourd launcher. Sorry, go on, Leon.
I was gonna say, while this is happening, Leon knows what's about to happen. And she looks at Ari and says, are you 100% sure about this, Ari? Her hands are together. She's like, are you sure about this?
Ari takes the time to look pensive, not be pensive, look pensive, and just look thoughtful for Leon.
What's your passive perception, Leon?
My passive perception is 11.
Ari, what's your passive deception? Actually, performance. What's your performance?
I'll tell you.
Oh, Ari's got good performance. We talked about this.
Yeah, I have +3 to performance, but is it just charisma?
+3 is well above an 11. So, no, you genuinely believe that Ari is, for once in their life, having a thought.
Little does she know. But fair enough. So I take the time to look pensive, and then I go, I have every confidence that this will turn out well for everyone involved.
Incus nods, just sort of dropping all the gourds on the ground, and he's like, I'm real strong, lady.
Mm-hmm. Leon looks at Incus and says, I have every faith in you. And then turns back to Ari and says, I could do a little bit of healing now. Just a little bit. And she's small. She's like, I've just
if it does make you feel better, we do learn how to fall, so I shouldn't really get hurt. Actually taking Leon seriously, I'm like, don't ruin my fun just because you think I'm gonna get hurt.
Okay. At this point, Malleus
just nodding.
Malleus and Maxilla arrive. Behind them by about 20 feet is Galen and B, and behind them by about 5 feet is Gris.
Y'all haven't launched yet, right?
No.
Travis shakes his head and he's like, no, but I think it'd be fun to watch.
Barry, I'm glad you made it.
Gris from the back of the line is like, Ariadne, don't you do a damn thing yet!
Alright, so Maxilla walks over to Ari and kind of puts a hand on their shoulder and is like, listen, I just need you, you seem pretty set on this, but I just need you to understand, dirt hurts.
I know, I've had more than my fair share of falls, but I believe it'll be worth it.
I'm not gonna stop you. You seem, you're an adult.
Oh yeah, I'm older than all of you, and somehow none of you care.
Okay, has Gris finally reached Ariadne and the crew?
Yes, you are slightly out of breath. And as you sort of catch your breath, Travis leans down and offers you a water skin quietly.
Gris takes it and throws it back and hands it back to Travis. And I imagine she's a little doubled over, staff in hand, and she's
I'm just looking down, take your time.
Reaches out and grabs Ariadne's arms and says, if you're gonna do this, I'm gonna put a spell on you first. And she's cast resistance just in case. And then she's straightens herself up a little bit and she's like, let's let them have their fun.
I take it how I didn't even get to complain before she did it. So I kneel back down and I go, I didn't need that. but I know where it comes from, so I appreciate it. And I promise you, I'll be fine.
I feel a little better now. It's for me, not you. Mostly me.
Fair enough.
B finally sees Ari getting put into this catapult and gets very excited and just kind of shouts from a distance. I think we're the furthest away, and kind of goes, "Give him a show! Give him a show! Give him something worth watching for, baby."
Hearing B yell, Chet walks away from the wagon and approaches the group. And they sort of like look at the whole scenario and they go, Incus, tell me you ain't about to put that nice person there in the gourd launcher.
I consented.
Incus is like, bah, stop being my bother. He looks very proud of himself for a second before continuing.
Laughs at that.
And goes, they said it's fine. Maxilla said it's fine. And I'm assuming that means it's fine by you too, right? Right, Bo? Please? I just... Last year you got mad at me when I launched the gourd at Maxilla's head, so I thought maybe it'd be better if we launched a person. We could put Maxilla out there to catch him.
Chet's like, no. I think Ari's got this. And she looks at Ari.
Chet nods and is like, alright, well, if it makes Chauncey happy, who's to say? Incus,
For all we know, it'll get a reaction out of her.
Chet nods thoughtfully and is like, well, it would be the craziest thing I ever heard of. Alright, sorry, I intervened. Alright. Incus walks up to you, Ari, and is like, alright.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for this?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Alright, so you see how it looks a little bit like a slingshot?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna put the part on your lower back, and I guess we could try to... No, we can't tie you in. We'll figure it out. I'm gonna pull back, and it's gonna send you flying. Because
Love
I'm
that
real
for me.
strong. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Lione and Malleus is now standing next to you with her arms crossed, and she's like, they are both very stupid.
Lione also has her arms crossed. So they're both kind of just standing there, arms crossed. And Lione looks at Malleus and says, yes. Yes, they are.
That's what I thought.
And yet, there's nothing we can do to stop them in this circumstance. So we're just going to hope that they're fine. And then if they're not, we're just going to heal them. And then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And Leone's like trying to convince herself that it's gonna be fine.
Even if I don't hear it, I can if I can see Leone saying all this, probably imagining what she's saying, I'm just gonna go, and even if I do get hurt, trust me, I won't feel it right now. And I look over at Travis and chuckle.
Leone just kind of shakes her head.
Travis sort of twiddles his thumbs and is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough.
Incus gets behind you and sort of lines you up in this slingshot and pulls you backwards.
Okay.
And just before he lets go, he leans forward and he's like, please don't die, because if you die, I get grounded, and I hate being grounded. There's so little to do here to begin with. I just go through Maxilla's drawers all day. It's boring. And pulls back and releases you.
Okay.
All of you are standing there watching. Ari's body makes a perfect arc through the air. Travis lets out a low whistle, sort of in the time of them falling.
Love that.
Ari, would you like to maybe cast Feather?
Yeah, I don't have to cast it, so I'm just gonna use my reaction to do slow fall, reduce any damage I take by 45. So I'm gonna the reasoning is I'm gonna try and land as I've been taught, which is into a somersault and absorb the impacts and end up on a kneel sort of superhero pose. That's the scene.
All right.
Well, I'll be darned.
Incus looks at you and he's like, "Are you proud of me, Maxilla?"
Proud?
He's kind of staring in disbelief, like, I didn't know they could do that.
It's just like, I could have turned them into a bird.
I don't know how far I am, but after doing my pose to look all cool, I'll like stand up and dust myself off and like.
Leone starts clapping, just like
yeah,
grateful that
Maxilla
Ari
claps.
wasn't hurt.
Laughing, yeah.
I think we're all clapping at this point.
Chet is standing there clapping. Malleus is imitating however Lione is clapping, like trying her
Nice.
best to come off as dainty as Lione does.
I'll do like some little bows, like how I imagine, like impersonating Leone. Just do like some bows or curtsies, and then and start walking back, just with a grin on their face, just like best thing to happen today.
Chet looks to Maxilla and goes, "Well, if anything makes Shantae happy, I hope it's that."
Oh, I think that was in the spirit of Chanty. I'm sure she felt that deep in her heart.
It was a lot more exciting than when Incus shot that gourd at you last year.
No resistance to that one.
They laugh and start to walk off and then turn back around. I wanted to thank you for your all of y'all. Except for you, Incus, and Malleus. But y'all did a good job staying behind. I wanted to thank y'all for your help. I'm sure, I mean, Cordelia says it probably wasn't easy for you, Travis, so I want to thank you for that. But I appreciate it.
It really was nothing.
Yeah,
We just do what we need to do. We help our friends.
We didn't do much. We just stuck around and supported the best we could. Thank you for having us.
Oh, sometimes that's all it takes, you know. They like get a little bit of wistful look in their eye, and they're like, "It was a little fun, you know, meeting the young orcs." Remind me of Cordelia when I first met her.
Maybe we'll get a chance to meet some more young orcs in the future.
Well, you know, I've found that the best way to meet orcs is you don't gotta be scared of them. I was never afraid of her. Maxilla, I ever tell you about when me and your mom met?
Oh, you know I love to hear the story.
They like get real wistful and they're like, "See, you might have noticed I wasn't afraid the other night. Well, you can say I ain't never been afraid of the right things." Maxilla, you think your friends mind if I tell them this story? I just think it's nice, and with, you know, Shanti's festival, and she goddess of fertility, she given us 4 beautiful children. I just thought, you know, in her honor, I might as... Maxilla, you don't think your friends are gonna mind, do you?
Leone says, "Oh no, we want to hear it."
Yeah, go on.
It's my favorite story.
Well, and he like sort of they sort of like pop their overalls for a second. Back when I met Cordelia, I think most people would have been scared of her, downright petrified, with that big scar and the warhammer strapped to her back. But from the day I met her, I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Maxilla, of course, you grew up to be a beautiful woman just like your mom. Ain't that right, Travis? Travis, you better answer yes. I ain't even gonna look at you. If you didn't nod, I'm gonna be upset. Anyways, I was in the city selling produce for the farm. I've been on the farm since I was a kid. I inherited it from my folks back in the day. But I remember I saw her and I was watching her from across the market, just hoping to catch her eye. You know me, I'm real short and she's real tall, and she could carry things real good. I thought she was just so beautiful. I fell head over heels for her before she even said one word to me. And young love's a little bit stupid. Or at least I was. She wasn't. I just prayed every day that she'd notice me. I started off praying to Shanti, but that's not really Shanti's thing. So I went to the city of temples and prayed for the love gods to make her notice me. And I don't know if it worked or not, but she sure did. She told me I was downright handsome. So I started taking her all over the city. I wanted to show her all the things she missed. So I took her to the library and I taught her how to read. She was real slow at it at first, but then she learned how to read. We had to travel all the way to Freylin. You ever been to that library? It's huge.
We have, actually.
Oh.
We even napped in front of it once.
We did.
I'd like to imagine there's some good sunshine there for napping. Maxilla likes to nap. She's a little bit of a loaf sometimes. But I would take her to the library and she would show me them books on Grumps to try to tell me, you know, why she felt the way she did. And we'd read them together, and they were written by the humans with long names, the scholars, and the elves, who they like to look down their nose at people like Cordeia. And she told me how those books were bullshit. And I thought that was the most eloquent thing anyone had ever said, even surrounded by all those books on theology about all them gods and stuff. I didn't care. I think that her word to me was holy. So if she said it was bullshit, I believed her. And let me tell you, I believe her to this day. They sort of stare off from the distance, and then they come back and they're like, I had no idea what we were talking about before that. I'm sorry. Sometimes when I think about Cordeia, my heart just goes all soft.
And, but I didn't mention this, but the reason Ma chose to go on that first date is because Bob made her laugh for the first time since she left her clan.
Well, it's true. I'm downright funny. I think I'm a
Ma always mentions that part.
I have a sense of humor. I have a way about me. I've always been a little bit of a ladies' person myself, but you know. They look at their nails for a second and they go, I'm sorry, I didn't come over here to brag about my beautiful wife. Why don't y'all get some rest before we start the bonfire tonight? It's gonna be going for quite some time, and I'm sure Maxilla wants to teach you her favorite dances.
I figure I'll have made it back by now, right?
Yes, you heard most of that love story.
Okay, good. I just wanted to take good notes.
Gris kind of like stretches out her back and she's like, yeah, running over here. I could use a good lie down. Maybe a little bit of shut-eye here or there.
I know we get up early. I'd like to apologize for that. The youngins don't know how to shut their faces sometimes. Incus is like, it ain't my fault they're lazy.
I pipe up and I just go, well, I know at least Incus has figured out one way to quiet up, and that is food and mouth. Seems pretty effective, if you ask me.
Travis sort of nods, and he's like, I can make him some more bread. It was very easy. If Maxilla will read me the recipe again.
Well, yeah, I'll get right on that. Real quick, though. Oh, sorry.
You go.
Before we head back, though, B, do you mind if I show you those pies that we were talking about earlier?
Oh, you know I love a good pie.
Cool. I'd love to just show you those pies. Maxilla has other intentions.
While they head off, Lione, I think she'd keep pace with Chet. And she says, kind of as she's walking back to the house, she says to them, so those books that you were talking about in the library of Freylin, do you often study the gods? Did you study the gods before? You met Cordeia?
Cordeia told me about God, what lives in her soul, and I thought that was a interesting story, and she told me about how they kind of feel like maybe they gotta kill things to make them be quiet, and I thought maybe we could find another way. And there were a lot of theories, but mostly they thought that real powerful emotions helped, so hate and anger, but also not to be too cheesy or nothing, but I think love helps.
I'm sure it does. And Leon kind of looks pensively and says, "Remember if any of those books said anything about the gods going quiet? I know it was a long time ago."
I'd have to go back and read them, and let me tell you, I ain't got time for that. I gotta chase the triplets around. I gotta cook for Cordelia. I gotta make fun of Maxilla's boyfriend. It's a full-time job around here, around these parts.
Leon chuckles and says, well, perhaps we'll see. Maybe I'll have time at some point. We also know the librarian there.
I imagine Gris is probably not far away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're about 5
Ari.
feet behind them as
She's
is
like-
Ari.
A wonderful librarian with mushroom tea.
This is true. And I'm sure
Leon
he.
kind of shakes her head and... Oh no, you go.
Oh, it's okay.
You go.
I was just gonna say, and I'm sure Valdethus would probably have some more information, but I don't know how helpful it would be, considering it seemed pretty novel. Not that I was eavesdropping or anything. When my elders were talking about it, it's just, I think it's quite new. But if anyone's gonna know something about it, might be them.
It would probably be Valdethus. And then Leon looks to Chet and says, "The harvest. Are you all gonna be okay?
Oh, we'll be fine.
Did you harvest enough?"
Oh yeah. Weary Valley, we are known for being plentiful. We're the most fertile valley around these parts, so it's not a great harvest, but we'll supplement. We got enough food, and we'll make sure the whole town's fed. We always do. That's the nice thing about having big, strong kids is they can carry a lot of grain out to a lot of people in a very short time.
Okay, good.
Hopefully the cart we built will also help with that. I
Oh,
hope.
sure, but you gotta punish Incas somehow, and making them carry things is usually pretty good. Tires them out, keeps them asleep longer.
Mhm. Hard labor is a sedative. I'm sure it's effective. Ari
yeah.
just says, chuckling.
I do gotta get back to that hayride, though, so why don't you nice people go to sleep? Meanwhile, apparently B and Maxilla are having a conversation.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Okay, I guess two things Maxilla wants to do, and I don't know if we have I don't want to take this too much time, but there is, and this could be a really quick thing. There is a pie eating competition, but that could just be a segue because just Maxilla really wants to talk to B really quickly about something.
She should probably talk to B. B can eat pies while everyone else naps if she wants to.
There
Galen
we
can
go.
cheer her on if he wants to.
Cool. Okay.
I
just wanted to make sure. All right. So Maxilla takes her out to the I don't know. Let's just
Maxilla, we both know you don't want to eat pies. What do you want to tell me?
well, B, you can always see right through me. I know you kind of mentioned it earlier this morning, but we all heard it, but Travis said he loved me 2 days ago,
Very loudly, yes.
and I didn't say it back.
Ah, yes. Very loudly, yes.
And I don't mean Travis any harm, and I really care about him. I really do, but this is the first time I've ever been in a relationship. And I don't know, and I love love. I do. I love my family more than I love anything. But I was so scared about falling too fast, and then he said it first, and I don't know. I'm not like you. I don't know how to flirt. I don't know how to do nothing. I don't know how to do relationships. And I think I need help.
B giggles for a little bit. And V kind of looks at Maxilla and kind of says, "And also told me I love you." I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, ain't we?
You know, adventuring was a lot easier.
Venturing's a lot easier. And we have history with Travis, and we've gotten to know him pretty well over all this, and like,
I think Travis has told you how he feels. Do you know how you feel?
I think I do.
Do you want to let him know that?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I think I was just panicking. And I think it was such a weird time for it to happen. I didn't have time to think about it. I was so worried about my bond, Stapes, and I think it didn't even hit me until he walked away.
I think now you only get to worry about Travis, though, if you want to.
It's true. All right. I'm gonna tell him how I feel.
Do we need to bring a pie back?
We can say we ate it.
Meanwhile, Travis and Galen are apparently still standing together because I don't think he went in the house. Travis looks down at Galen and goes, "So, B's a lot, huh?"
Yeah. She can be, but I find that's part of her charm. You know, it's all fun and games, but it's great. And Galen sort of like shyly like rubs his neck and he blushes. He starts to like blush blue a little bit.
Travis nods thoughtfully and goes, "You know, I've threatened you a lot, but I need you to know. If you break B's heart, Maxilla will be the one to kill you."
Galen sort of like swallows
Again,
and starts
I
to
feel
sweat.
like maybe there's an again in there somewhere.
Galen gets nervous and he looks Travis like directly in the eye, like cranks his neck up and just very sternly just goes, "I have no intention of doing that."
Okay. Travis then turns and heads back towards the house.
Galen just like puts his hands on his knees and starts wheezing. It's like, oh my god. And he's just thinking to himself, he's so scary up close. And he starts like breathing heavily. And he looks around and then he just starts walking back towards the house, making sure that he's alone.
All right, so you all head back towards the house. You all lie down or read. Lione, Malleus actually presents you with a book and proudly tells you that she took it from Maxilla a few months ago, and when Maxilla found out, she actually just told her to keep it. So it's hers now. So it's fine. The rest of you sort of either lie down or meditate, whatever best fits yourself. The sun sets, and you all get up. The sky is orange and red and yellow, and the bonfire in the center of the clearing crackles to life. A band, led by a bard with a twangy but pleasing voice, begins to play. You watch as the townspeople begin to gather into what appear to be lines, beginning dances that seem simple and coordinated but grow more complicated as they continue. Maxilla watches them with a broad smile on her face.
Leon watches with a look of shock and horror.
All right, I think
and says,
ready.
"This is different. This is Lines? What? and she looks at Maxilla.
All right, let me tell you all the trick to line dancing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need
do
to
it?
know the dances. You just got to look at the feet in front of you. That's how everybody learns. It gets passed down feet by feet. And don't worry about looking dumb, because everybody's just worried about themselves more than they're worried about anybody else.
Oh, I never do. I just take it for granted that I will be.
It's just a counts of 4. All you gotta do is shuffle to the right, shuffle to the left, do some kicks when you see doing kicks, and then you kick, and then you shuffle. And then you do a twist to get to
Count
another
out
move.
loud.
Sometimes I do, because I can't keep straight.
Understood.
But, and feel free to put in a clap anytime your heart sings it. It's usually on, like, the 4th beat, or when you're done with the move, you clap, and then you shuffle to the next side.
Oh.
It's great camaraderie.
Leon kind of like shuffles her hands around and is like, so what you're telling me is there's no organization.
Well, not except that we got lines. But honestly, sometimes people just kind of shuffle in whatever they want. You do have to kind of follow where people are turning, otherwise you will get stepped on. I have accidentally stepped on people.
How do you know when to turn?
Well, it's usually on the last beat, and then
Good
you kind
question,
of...
Gris.
Well, like I said, you follow the feet in front of you. When they turn, you turn. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey,
good.
everybody,
Okay.
watch me. I promise.
Okay.
Fair enough. Ari's looking like
Lead the
serious
way.
and just like intently like absorbing as much information, just like I'm going to crush
I feel like a
this.
coach, like, talking to a football team.
Travis is like
Leon kind of
nodding.
says under her breath,
Alright.
does Maxilla know she's not really teaching us right now? Does she think this is teaching?
I don't think Maxilla can teach.
We've done more with less information.
You're not wrong, Ari.
I'm sorry, do y'all want a prophecy? The line dance?
Well, I'm more of a visual learner, Maxilla.
All right, well then get on the dance floor.
I need
Slaps him on the back.
I need some feet to follow, Maxilla.
All right.
Like you said.
All right, let's get... Then what are we waiting for? Listen, the fiddles are calling. Let's get on that dance floor.
All right, so you all sort of step towards the bonfire. Ari, Travis leans down to you and goes, "Girls like it when you show an interest in their interest, right?"
Very much so, yes.
All right, then I guess I'm doing this too. You all sort of get in a line. Maxilla leads, followed by B. Gris, who has trouble seeing other people. Well, she's used to seeing people's feet, but there's a lot of people to look through. The rest of you sort of go in height order with Ari and then Lione and then Galen and Travis in the back. I'm going to need everyone to roll an athletics check, please.
Roll for you
Thank
too.
you.
Oh, my
Nice,
Alexis.
Hey, Jenny, can I get advantage because Maxilla, like, knows this dance?
I can't roll yours.
You don't have to roll, Maxilla.
Because I'm not home.
Woo!
Oh, sweet.
Oh, Gris, I saw that.
Yeah, it's an 8.
Oh.
9 plus -1.
Jenny, I rolled a 13. Can I also roll a performance? So like what
13's
Leon
good
lacks
enough.
in skill.
Cool.
Okay.
But Leon,
gonna
you
say
should
she adds in
know I
flair.
rolled a 25. Nat 20 plus 5. 25.
Ari's
All right.
Fuck
I
yeah!
got a nat 20.
Let's
Galen,
go.
what did you roll?
An 11.
B, what did you roll?
I rolled a 16. Can I
right,
recommend
so-
that Gris Stevie Nicks dances instead?
Told you I was gonna crush it.
You start to dance. Maxilla leading the way. Ari and Travis, who rolled a 19, both seem to pick it up rather quickly, following Maxilla's steps nearly perfectly. Ari, you even managed to throw in a few claps, as Maxilla suggested, and she beams at you like you're doing it at the right time.
Yes.
B, you do fairly well. It's a little less graceful than most dances you're used to. Leon, you do not quite as well as B, but she's doing a lot of like sensual hip movements that you think maybe aren't the correct move, though you would appreciate them in another context. Right. Galen, you're struggling.
Oh.
Every time you move to step somewhere, you find that Travis is already there and sort of find yourself floundering a little bit. But luckily,
Travis.
B's back is to you, so you're not too embarrassed. Gris, you're having a hard time. You keep tripping over your feet, and you wind up just sort of spinning in a circle with your arms out, the way you would dance in the forest instead. But Maxilla smiles at you as if this is correct, nonetheless.
Oh.
She seems just happy that you're all trying. You all dance a couple of rounds. You get a little bit better as time goes on. Ari, you feel as though maybe your real life's calling is to live on a farm with a beautiful, strong orc woman. I mean, she already has one spouse. She could always have another.
Maxilla sees Ari's moves and is like, whoa, I didn't even know you could line dance like that. And like starts copying like Ari's moves. Like, I gotta learn.
Ari's just vibing so hard, like, I have a purpose, I guess. Just like...
The night goes on. The stars begin to emerge as the sky goes from deep reds and oranges of sunset to the inky indigo of night. The constellations glimmer above you, twinkling, and the band begins to play a new melody. Gentle and longing, the lyrics sweet and loving. The townspeople begin to couple up around you, dancing together in a slow swaying motion in pairs. Incus approaches Lione.
No.
Well, hey there, pretty lady. Do you want to dance with me?
Lione opens her mouth and looks at Ari, presumably across the field, and then casts message and is like, Ari, can you please save me from the child?
Ari hears the voice and just like swivels their head to find Lione in the crowd across, and just like chuckles back, and that's it before like just zooming real before sighing like just exasperatedly, and then zooming actually like dash across. So I'm instantly next to her.
As Ari appears, Lione motions to Ari and says, I'm so sorry, Incus. Ari already asked me to dance. Like an hour ago. Right, Ari?
That I did.
Lione just smiled.
Yeah. That I did, Lione.
And Lione
I'm sorry. I'm
please.
sorry, Incus.
That's alright. Maxilla says she's too old for me anyways, but you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's an idiom. Ba taught me that.
This is true. I
Keep taking
encourage
those
you to
shots,
find... Yeah, I'm sure you'll find someone else to dance with.
And then I presume Ari and Lione go to
Yeah.
dance so that Incus doesn't show up again and like, well, why aren't you dancing?
I'll lean into Lione, like tiptoe up to her ear and be like, you owe me one. To be
Lione gets
cashed
message
in
and is
at a
like,
moment
"Yeah, I
of
know."
my convenience.
I get it.
Alright, so, Galen, B, Maxilla, Gris, and Travis, you are watching everyone dance, including your companions Lione and Ari, who look a little awkward, but it seems like both of them have actually danced before.
Chris just like
The-
smiles.
Oh.
That's all.
That's all she does.
So she coughs passive
Very subtle,
aggressively. Is this in the direction of anyone?
Not this time, but she will cough again and sigh deeper. And this time she will look at Kate.
As
Because the first time did not catch anybody's attention, apparently.
well, as B was coughing, Galen was already on the move. Like, I know what's happening. Okay. And he walks. He like turns to B and does sort of like a kind of graceful bow, and is like, "My lady B, would you like to dance?"
thought you would never ask.
Oh my god.
And she gracefully takes his hand. And before anything happens, she kind of like looks back to Maxilla and goes,
Wait, what
and
did she do?
she
What
kind
did
of
she do?
like makes a face, kind of hiding her face from Galen, and kind of points at him a little bit and goes, "Look what I got!" Before she is swept
Maxilla
away.
gives me a thumbs up as B walks away.
Galen and B sort of take a spot about a few paces away from Lione and Ari and start to dance, and it's a lot less awkward. A lot more romantic, very sweet. Maxilla, are you watching your friend dance?
Yeah, Maxilla's kind of, I think, maybe nervous, obviously nervous, but is also kind of like staring off at B and her friends, but mostly just being like happy, and feeling a little sense of longing, staring at all of them dance, and just actually just being happy because this is the first time. I think she's also reflecting that this is the first Harvest Festival she's had friends to celebrate with, and she's just happy to see her friends have joy.
Is Gris near Maxilla?
Yes.
Is Travis near us?
Yes, he is.
Gris is gonna, like, while Maxilla's having her moment, kind of like slide on over to Travis a little bit, down at like knee height, and just kind of give him like a little elbow poke, and say,
Travis looks down at you when you poke him.
"Travis, hey Travis,
Mm.
Maxilla looks like she could use a dance partner."
Gris, I was
Yeah.
already going to ask her.
I'm just giving you that little nudge. I figured you were. I'm just supporting.
He leans down and pats your head, and then steps up to Maxilla, so he's standing alongside her, and looks down at her, and without saying anything, holds out a hand.
At him and smiles and takes the hand and then lets her lead her to the dance floor. Don't cry.
Travis starts to dance with you. Y'all are about. You guys are also a few paces away from Galen and Lione and B and Ari.
Maxilla has been looking around. Like, she looks at the fire, and then she looks at Ari and Lione, and then she looks at B and Galen, then she looks at Travis, and as they sway back and forth. And Maxilla asks, "Travis, I don't know if you've ever told me, but how do you keep Grumsh's thrall away?"
Well, I mean, I used to kill a lot of people. I like to cook. I like to break up bar fights, and I like to have a friend throw bags of flour at me, and I catch them and I stack them. I
Maxilla
stack a lot of flour.
chuckles at that. She's like, "You're always a hard worker, and I really admire that. And ever since we met, I've seen how dedicated you are, and how caring you are too. And I think that really drew me to you the first time we met. And you heard my Ba's story about how my Ba met Ma in the city, and how they found love, and that's how they resisted the thrall. And I was always taught that. I've always had love in my heart, and that's how I resist Grumsh, and how I can ignore the call and focus on my feelings. And I love love, and I love my family. And I think over the last couple months, as we've gotten to know each other, I've found that I think of you too when I'm thinking about resisting the thrall of Grumsh. Even though we haven't heard him in a while, I was having that feeling. And I'm sorry I couldn't say it before, but I love you, Travis. And I'm just so happy I met you.
Travis smiles at you. And he kind of like presses his forehead down to yours and he goes, well, you know I love you too, Maxilla. And if you want to teach me, I think loving people would be a lot better than throwing flour around.
Could we hear that?
Absolutely not. This is my moment.
Like, maybe...
I just want to know what Leon heard.
Maybe be heard. Maybe if she's being nosy, but probably not.
Okay. But Maxilla just says, like, yeah, I want to experience love with you, Travis. And I want to keep learning how to love you. And then she kisses him.
Oh, Travis kisses you back.
Orcs in love!
And then he pulls away and he looks down at you and he says, when Ba said that he saw your mother for the first time, and he thought, they thought immediately that she was the most beautiful woman they'd ever seen. That's how I felt about you. I just thought you should know.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You all slow dance for a little while longer.
Can Gris like come in and dance by herself? But like
I was
next
gonna say, can B while in the middle of a slow dance kind of look at Incus and kind of go, oh, I think there's a pretty little lady over there waiting for a dance.
Incus rolls his eyes and goes, yeah, but she's Stapes' friend, and Stapes has been hiding over there waiting to ask her if she wanted to dance with her. And Stapes sort of appears next to you, Gris, and goes, Incus is me. Do you want to dance with me? Like, obviously not like Maxilla and Travis are dancing together.
Gris like just grabs Stapes' arms and like runs over next to like Lione and Ariadne and says, absolutely.
So Stapes starts to like do that thing where you're both holding hands and you sort of spin around in a circle, but because you are so much smaller than her, your feet actually lift off the ground and she sort of like swings you around.
Gris probably loves it, honestly. He's like, yes, we're going.
There's a few more slow songs. Ari and Lione dance to them still fairly awkwardly. Lione even tries to teach Ari a waltz before realizing that they already know it, probably from years of being around. B and Galen dance together, and Maxilla and Travis continue their quiet conversation. The song's slow, sweet melody fades into what sounds like the gentle murmur of a prayer to the goddess of the harvest as the night wears on. Shanti's faithful close their eyes and lower their faces to the ground, and all speak in gentle unison. The words, though unfamiliar to most of you, carry the weight you can sense of previous prayers that have gone unanswered. The bonfire in the center of the clearing crackles, a log snapping in half, and a shower of sparks is sent upwards towards the silent heavens. We will be back next week. Thank you to Allie and Stacy for contributing these last 3 episodes. I'm sure we'll see them again. But for now, I hope that you all enjoyed the Harvest Festival, and I hope you're prepared for quite the adventure, because it's coming up.
A lot of emotion. This isn't anything to base it on.
So yeah, we'll all be back with the exception of Allie and Stacy. We will be back next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. MST, 8 p.m. EST, 5 p.m. Pacific time.
You got it.
Until then, be sure to catch up on YouTube if you haven't, catch up on Spotify, hang out in our Discord, tweet us. We do have some NPCs who are in need of names, so be sure to share with us your cool Tabletop Tavern thoughts, theories, art, pictures,
Memes.
Someone made a mood board that I've been thinking about for like weeks now. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was really, really wonderful to see you all, and take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other.